My name is Mark McEwen. I'm an ENL teacher at Claremont International High School in the Bronx. This video will be an overview of a workshop I did for the network called Google Sites Engage Students Asynchronously. So the purpose of this workshop was to talk about Google Sites as a resource, especially for engaging students asynchronously during remote learning or during hybrid learning. Many of our students are working or they have other obligations outside of school, so it's hard to engage with them synchronously a lot of the time. So this is just a workshop overview about how to use Google Sites to reach those students. So we're going to go through parts of the agenda, not the whole thing, just to talk about how you can use this resource. So the first thing is a Google site tour. So we're going to use my website for my class. We're going to talk about organization and resources. So the first page of my website is the home page. So it has the syllabus and the class outcomes, getting straight to the point. And then below that are links to the other pages on the site. So there's a little bit of redundancy since there are links here and there are links up on top here. So the way I've organized my site is basically the sequence of the unit, the sequence of the curriculum. So it starts with the text, the videos, the audio that we're using. So this unit was about systemic inequality. So again, it's in sequence. So we have a lesson here about one of these key terms, implicit bias. The articles that we read, so it's a leveled advanced, intermediate, beginner, and then a video connected to that we watched in class. So if a student is absent, I can direct them to this website and they can explore these resources themselves. And then as you scroll down, other articles we read and then books that we read as a class for this unit. And then as you go along top here, again, this is done by sequence. So the first outcome we explored was annotation. The first resource the students see is the rubric for this outcome, so they know exactly how they'll be graded and what skill they need to master. And then as you scroll down, again in sequence, the annotation skills they learned, how to annotate with questions, connections, inferences, etc. And then you can see a lesson students can go through themselves, a video lesson going through this lesson so they can watch and listen and pause, and then example documents and other resources they may need. So those documents look like this. Here's the video. Here's an example of what annotation looks like, and then a resource they might need to use to do it themselves. So then we have claim evidence analysis for literary analysis, language conventions, organization, and then finally presentation if students are presenting a PBAT. So again, the way this is organized is how it's sequenced in the unit. We explore our resources and then we go through each outcome one at a time. So it may be a little intimidating when you're creating your own website. The biggest piece of advice I have is do one page at a time. Build your website as you are teaching it, and that will make it a lot less intimidating. So below that are just some links to creating a Google Classroom if you don't have one already set up. These are just basics of how to create one. These are from Google. So here's the slides and a video, and then resources for creating your own Google site, slides and a video there. Those are from Google. Those are not from me. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of using this with Google Classroom. So last year when I was teaching remotely, I was putting all of the assignments and the resources on Google Classroom, and it kind of became a lot visually for students to look at. So here are the assignments I had all together, and then here are the resources. And then when they clicked on these, there was a long list of resources. And students had a hard time navigating this. Not all students, but some students did. So I was really thinking, how can I make this more easier for students to navigate and more visually appealing? And that's where Google Sites came in. So this is my Google Classroom this year, and it's only for assignments. So it goes week by week, and they just, for the most part, they see one assignment that they have to complete. But there's a link to the website up on top. So all the resources are there, and that's a permanent link for them. So when they open their assignments now, they look like this. They know exactly what outcome is being assessed for the assignment, and then there are links to those resources that are also on the website. So there's a little bit of redundancy. So there's a link to the rubric for how they'll be graded, and then there's a link to the website page so they have access to those resources. And then in the directions, they also have links for anything they might need. Here's an example assignment, the same structure, and then video lesson, and then the lesson itself. Here's another example of that. This is with a checklist, and this checklist, they can actually go through and check them off, and then there's links to BrainPop videos and other documents they may need. So I highly suggest using hyperlinks in these documents. Even though they have access to a lot of this stuff on the website, it's good to have that redundancy for students who aren't great at navigating the website themselves. So let's talk about how to make a Google site. So again, there are these links available to you, but let's quickly go through the process. So you're just going to go to google.com, click on the waffle in the corner, and find the sites icon. That will bring you to this page, and this has some templates you can use, but I usually start with a blank one. So when you click on that, it will bring you to this page. And it's a really, really simple interface. So you're just going to name your class. So actually, this is naming the page itself. So I might want to call this home page. Then this is for the website itself. So I'm just going to call this English 12. And this is how you're going to create things on your website. So maybe you want a big image and some text on the side to introduce it. I really like using this template that has the 4 squares and then text underneath. You can see how I've used that a lot just because it's an easy way to look at things and you can include a lot in that way. So another thing I've learned is if you just put the document in, it will be like this. It will be scrollable. And there are benefits to that. So you may want to do that for some documents. But if you do that for every document, it makes the page really slow. And it's kind of silly because you have these little boxes that have these documents that you can scroll through. And no one's going to read it that way. So what I like to do is I like to go to Emojipedia, and I like to use the emojis as icons. So they have lots of different emojis you can use, but I like to go for Microsoft because they're pretty bold. So what I do is I save these to my computer, and then I'll upload it. So I have different icons for different resources. So if it's just a paper resource, I might add that in. And then what I'll do is I'll link to an outside document. So let's say I want to use these critical thinking questions. I go to the share. I make sure that it's set to anyone can view this. If you want to make it private to your organization, make sure you change that to whatever your organization is. Copy that link and then paste it in. So now that image becomes hyperlinked. And then I'm just going to label it. I like to change this to subheading so it's a little bigger. So critical thinking questions. Just going to label it. I also like to make it bold. That's a personal choice. So then when I'm done editing, I click that publish button. Now you want to make sure that the permissions are set in a way you want it. If you want it to be a private site, only people in your organization can see it, then it'll default to that. But if you want to change it, make it public, you have options for that. So right now it's published only to my organization. I'm going to make it public so anyone can see it. So then I'm going to click that publish button. Now I have a link to my published website. I'm just going to put that in so I can see what it looks like. So you can see there's some holes here because I put that template in, but I didn't fill it in. But you can see what it looks like, and you can see, since my mouse changes, that's now a link to that outside document. So the great thing is you can publish this at any stage, but then you can still go back and edit it. It's never a finished product. So again, my suggestion is go page by page. When I created this document, I first just created the home page. Then I moved on and I started making the page for the resources we were using. So I didn't create this whole thing in one step. I did it throughout my unit as I needed it. And that makes the whole process a lot less intimidating. So make sure that you explore these links. There are also some links on the bottom that we came up with on the day. So if, using Loom for video lessons, Handbrake to compress videos if you're doing video lessons, and Calibre ebook converter if you have any ebooks that you want to convert to a different file type. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.